Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sean Brodrick, senior editor at WeissRatings.com. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Thanks for having me on.
Sean, we've had quite a rally in the stock markets. Do you think that's going to continue?
It can continue for a while due to two things. One is the money pumping that we're seeing. You know, that comes from not only the Fed, but also the U.S. Treasury and Congress and the President working together, just throwing money at things nowadays. So, you know, that's on the one hand. On the other hand, one weight that's been lifted off the market was someone from the White House came out on Monday and said that we weren't going to slap any sanctions on China. And if you remember, the White House spent the previous 2 weeks talking about how China was the bad actor in the coronavirus pandemic and that it was going to slap like sanctions on it. We heard that from the President, we heard that from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and we heard that from other people in the White House. Well, apparently they changed their mind on that because they're not going to do it. So I think the market's breathed a real huge sigh of relief, so things are going higher. That said, I think that we know all the good stuff now, and which opens up, we could have some bad stuff come along. So I'm actually bracing for further downside. I think we've got the easy stuff so far. This rally, you know, was a good rally, but I believe the big trend is still bearish, and I think that things will head lower again.
Now, of course, with China, people found out that perhaps they're not the most reliable source. Canada sent 2 planes there to pick up medical supplies, and they didn't have them. We had to bring the planes back home. Other people around the world are finding China isn't the most reliable supplier. Does that mean people are going to find new sources for stuff and perhaps bring more production back to their own border?
Well, there's plenty of places that make it. In fact, one of the picks we have in Supercycle Investor makes its stuff in Vietnam, which is a great country for that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, there's been all kinds of problems with supplies. I think we're going to have a surplus of, like, ventilators at some point because we're seeing all these companies start to gear up to make them. And we're already seeing the curve flattening, at least in New York, which is ground zero in the U.S. for the whole pandemic thing. In other parts of the country, the curve is not flattening yet. So there is that danger. But, you know, I expect we'll see the stuff made elsewhere. It's being made in Arizona by, I can't think of the name of the company right now, but it's a big company. So there are other places that make it besides China.
Do you think China is going to regret being, I don't know if the word stingy is right, but it just seems to be unreliable. I mean, you don't send 2 giant cargo planes to a country and expect them to return empty.
Let me tell you a story. Did you know that a U.S. governor worked with his wife, who speaks Chinese, to get a shipment of protective gear from China? It showed up, and then the federal government tried to grab it. And there's a big to-do about that. Do you think that the federal government has any kind of regrets about that?
Okay, yeah, China's not really a kind of country to regret anything.
Exactly. They aren't, we aren't either. And so I don't think anybody's going to regret anything about this. Right now, there are people looking out for themselves. We're seeing it all over the place. And so China will do what's best for China. And I expect them to I don't think they're telling the truth about their numbers. I don't think that really matters at this point. What matters is the pandemic we have here in the U.S. and how we deal with it. And this does affect you guys up in Canada somewhat. But we have a federal government right now that does not believe the federal government can solve problems. That's a very dangerous situation to be in. We are seeing states open up again, contrary to the federal guidelines, which said that your number of cases had to be going down 14 days in a row. Well, they're opening up anyway. What this means is everyone's going to have a great May, and then June is going to suck. So, be prepared for that. You saw wave 1 of the pandemic. It's very likely we'll see another wave in June. I do not have a crystal ball. I'm not a medical doctor. Certainly, I am not the expert on this. But you can see if you don't solve a problem, and yet you then re-engage in the activities that made that problem worse in the first place, it's very likely that that problem is going to get worse again.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, are people really looking for pharmaceutical firms to invest in since a vaccine or some kind of treatment is what everybody's talking about right now?
Well, yeah, and in fact, we're investing in them quite well. I mean, we owned Gilead before it announced it's like big news. So now, the drug from Gilead is not a vaccine; it's a treatment. At least in some people, it makes the course of the disease, is it really disease? The course of the virus running through your body shortens it and makes it easier to bear, because this virus is a killer. And you need something to, just hopefully make it not as harsh on people as it is. So that's one thing. But there are new vaccines being worked around all over the world. Who knows who will have the magic bullet? Who knows if even we'll just have one magic bullet? There could be many. I was just reading today, as a matter of fact, that the virus we have raging in North America right now is a mutation of the one which ripped through China. What does that mean? A, we shouldn't really use China as a model because they had a different virus. The one that's in North America right now is much more contagious. Also, what it means is that they've been working on vaccines, but of course they started working on them as soon as possible. So they're using examples of the virus they got from China. Will the vaccines they come up with be able to deal with a new version of the virus? We don't know yet. It just gets more and more complicated. So that's one thing people should be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are some things that naturally kill viruses, like copper and silver. Is there more interest in them?
I haven't seen anybody promote that, but it would not surprise me. When people are desperate, they go for miracle cures. Heck, we see that on the TV all the time. I'm a strong believer in science. In this particular case, science does not work quickly. This isn't like an episode of like Star Trek where they have a deadly disease raging through the ship and they're able to come up with a vaccine in a matter of hours. It takes months and months and months to do this. I think many people are frustrated with that and they don't understand it, and so they are going to go for miracle cures. What I'm doing with my own family is we are isolating. That's the thing that's going to keep us safe until a vaccine comes out, and it has to be a workable vaccine. 60% of the American population in a survey, and I'm not sure how scientific the survey is, but I assume that it has some weight, 60% of them said that they would be avoiding large gatherings and other places where they could more likely contract the virus until there is a vaccine. We need a vaccine. That should have been the goal from day one, along with testing. Now, we've also heard that the FDA has completely stepped away from regulating testing. What that means is there's a heck of a lot of tests out there, but no one's checking to make sure that they actually work. And so that's yet another problem. We are only doing like maybe a third of the testing we should be doing at a bare minimum. Of course, we should be doing a lot more testing, but we're only doing a third of what we should at the bare minimum be doing. So that means things are going to spread. Things are going to get worse. I know everyone wants to be optimistic on this. I'd love to be optimistic on this. I can't be optimistic. This is being mismanaged from the top down. And so it means hard times are ahead, at least if you're in the at-risk populations. Now, let me leaven that with an anecdote, and it's only an anecdote. It's not some freaking major data point. I heard from a friend of mine over the weekend. Her sister is what she calls a lung doctor. I'm sure there's a much better term for it. Up in New York, and she's seeing patients die that shouldn't die. She's seeing young people die. She's seeing people with no pre-existing conditions. It is boggling her mind. So, maybe you catch this and it's just a bad case of the flu. Maybe you catch it and you die. Maybe many more people have it than we think have it. Maybe those people are now immune. There's so much we don't know. And until they ramp up testing a lot, and until they put a lot more effort into this, it is going to be a big unknown. And that's the problem. Because consumers don't want to shop, don't want to go out when they're scared, when there are so many unknowns. So, until that changes, I expect us to be in some trouble.
Someone said baby boomers, the older people, are more susceptible to the virus. They have money, but they don't want to go out and spend it. Millennials want to go out and party, but they don't have the money to turn the economy around.
Well, that's like one way to look at it. Many baby boomers don't have money. One problem we have is that this company is run by Congress and the people in Congress and in the White House, in the administration, generally, that kind of thing. They happen to be very wealthy. So they don't have any fears about health insurance. But for a working class person, catching this disease would be a real problem. Not only medically, but economically. I mean, if you're knocked out of work for 3 weeks, 6 weeks sometimes, which like some of these people are, I mean, that is just going to devastate these people. And so, again, there's this fear hanging over the general consumer population. And until you can fix that, and you won't fix it just by going on TV and saying everything is fine, until you fix that, then we are going to see our economy under extreme pressure.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, how has gold been faring?
Gold is holding up better than most people actually thought it would. I mean, 1,700 seems to be the new floor, and of course gold will make a liar out of me and go down to 1,650 tomorrow. But, gold has been trading in a range, ever since, mid-April or so. It's just kind of going along, doing its stuff. Now, one thing that was supporting gold was that a bunch of gold mines shut down. Many of the gold mines are coming back online with new safety regulations, that kind of stuff, we'll see supplies coming back on. It's still a problem transporting gold around the world. There are many customers who want it who can't get it simply because gold usually flies on commercial flights, and there are a lot less commercial flights. But I assume that they'll work out that kind of logistical problem at some point or another. So at some point we'll see another push down in gold. I expect that to happen. I've been raising my stops on, and we have a lot of gold positions, raising the stops on those because at some point we are going to see another pullback. But that is a viable pullback. Gold is in a big bull market. You can see it. It just happened Tuesday. Gold sold off early, and it came right back, and the miners sold off early, and the buyers came in. When the buyers come in, waiting for those morning dips, that kind of thing, that really supports the bullish trend. So I don't have any fears about gold right now. I mean, I am going to look for the pullback because nothing moves in a straight line, even a straight horizontal line. It doesn't. So we'll have another pullback. Good. When that pullback happens, I'm going to load people up again because that's the way to play this market.
Is oil coming back?
Oil's coming back much stronger than it should be. And I know that people are turning bullish for a number of reasons. They think there's light at the end of the tunnel. They think everything recovers in the third quarter, in fall, and we're in the second quarter now. So they say, okay, things will recover by then. Now we need to put money to work in oil companies, and I don't blame them. If you think a company could ride this thing out and it has a safe dividend and it's trading cheaper than it has in years, why wouldn't you buy it? But I don't think people should be too surprised if there's another downturn in the oil markets, which will be worse than what's happening in the equity markets, just like the first time. It'll be kind of like a repeat of what we saw the first time. Equity markets went down, oil markets got crushed. I expect that same kind of thing again because, we have had some limits on supply. That's good. And we've seen, I think I saw a figure on North Dakota Bakken fields production is down 30%. That's a lot. That really is. And we need to see production cut more in order to support prices. But right now, we're seeing a lot of optimism priced into the oil markets, and I think that the optimism is overdone. That said, you know what? Maybe I'm just mad because I didn't buy oil stocks at the bottom. If anyone listening to this wants to rationalize it that way, you go right ahead. That again, I'm happy as a pig, riding the gold wave. I don't really care what happens in oil. Here's a funny thing. I was just reading the stat the other day. They were looking up, they were actually comparing the earnings of the big oil companies back in 2009, the last big recessionary thing we had, and the big tech companies back then, and what's happening now in both groups. And the oil companies actually made money back in 2009. They're not going to make money this year. The tech companies, their earnings have just ballooned since 2009. They'd go from making $14 billion to something like $100 billion. It's just nuts what the really big tech companies are actually making now. So they're getting a larger and a larger slice of the pie, which is also a problem for the market, by the way. The S&P 500 is only 14% off its highs, but they say if you take out the big companies, then I think it's the average stock is like 24% off its highs. So what we're seeing right now is that we are seeing a whole bunch of earnings profits has moved from the old line industries like energy, and now it's in tech. I guess it's the restructuring of our global society and the whole bunch of things. Now, does that mean that there are no bargains out there in the energy industry? Of course there are bargains. You have to look very carefully, and really I would be looking for those companies that can pay their dividends, can grow their dividends, even in an extraordinarily difficult environment, because we're probably going to have an extraordinarily difficult environment for quite some time.
Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
My guest has been Sean Brodrick, Senior Editor at WeissRatings.com. If you have any questions for Sean or Any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.